This video has been prepared to guide you with the daily operation of the CF240. All the information in this presentation can be found word for word in the operator's manual. Read the operator's manual carefully and refer back to it from time to time. If at any time you require information or advice about this vehicle, do not hesitate to contact your representative at Industrial Fabrication Incorporated. General overview of the CF240. In order to familiarize yourself with the machine, it is good to know the general function and location of key components. This vehicle is designed with a cab-forward style operator compartment with seating for the driver and one passenger. The rear cab enclosure is equipped with 16 forward-facing seats and 3 higher capacity rear-facing seats. The vehicle is equipped with 4-wheel steering, meaning both the rear and the front axles have the ability to steer. In order to minimize brake wear when traveling down ramps, this vehicle has been equipped with an electric driveline retarder. A 3-speed transmission transfers engine power to the axles. The engine is a 6.7-liter diesel rated at 240 horsepower. The charge air cooler is mounted at the front and the fan is powered by hydraulic motor. The radiator and transmission cooler assembly are remotely mounted to the side of the machine and hydraulically powered. The fan is activated by a temperature switch and remains off until cooling is required by the engine or transmission. For your safety, this vehicle is equipped with 3 fire suppression actuators and 2 fire extinguishers. One fire suppression actuator is located inside the cab by the steering wheel. The other 2 fire suppression actuators are located on either side of the machine between the service module and the bus compartment. The first fire extinguisher is in the operator's cab and is mounted on the doghouse between the operator and passenger seats. The second fire extinguisher is located next to the door in the bus compartment. Aside from the main door, the bus compartment has 3 safety exits. The second window on the left side and the third window on the right side are safety egress windows. The back door is designed to be used as a safety exit and not for everyday use. Daily pre-operation check. For your safety and the safety of the passengers, it is essential that you perform a daily pre-operation check of the CF240. When performing your daily pre-operation checks, we suggest that you start at the rear right corner of the machine. Start by observing the body for damage. Make sure all the windows and trim are in good condition. Check the tires for abnormal wear or damage. Remove any rocks lodged in between treads. Check that all wheel nuts are in place and no studs are broken. Once in a while it is a good idea to inspect the frame rails along their entire length for damage. While you are looking under there, make sure all cab bolts are in place. Check the exhaust system for damage. Make sure the protective cover isn't ripped or damaged. Make sure the exhaust guard plate is okay. Inspect the front tire for damage, lodged rocks in the treads, missing nuts, or broken studs. Make sure the right-hand fire suppression actuator is not damaged or has no parts missing. Have a look between the rad cowling and the rear bus enclosure to get a look at the sight glasses on the hydraulic tank. The bottom glass should be completely full of oil, and you should be able to see oil in the top level. Have a look at the radiator for clogged or bent fins. Make sure the overflow bottle is up to the normal level with coolant. Glance over the passenger door for damage. Look at the mirror to make sure it isn't cracked or broken. Check sliding windows to make sure they are undamaged. Verify that the latch and handles are in good working order. Check the interior handle and door strap for damage, and do the same for the seal around the door. Check the passenger step for damage and make sure it is clear of mud and debris. Make sure the exterior 3-point contact bar is in good condition. Next, look at the interior 3-point contact bar to make sure it is okay and well secured. Check the seat adjustment, and seat belts to make sure they are safe and in good working order. Verify the washer fluid level through this access door. Fill it if necessary. Check the windshield and windshield wipers. Make sure the lights are undamaged and free of dirt. Verify that the remote boost point is capped and free of dirt. Inspect the driver's side door, mirror, and 3-point contact as you did on the passenger side. Check the seat belts, steering wheel, fire suppression actuator, the brake, and throttle pedals. Check that the fire extinguisher is well secured and charged. The engine belts can be inspected by the access door in the doghouse from the driver's side of the cab. Check your front tire. Verify the fuel cap. Make sure it is well secured and in good working condition. Check the engine oil level using the yellow dipstick by the master switch. Check the engine breather service indicator. Verify third fire suppression actuator. Check the latch, glass, strap, steps, and 3-point contact of the main entry door to the bus compartment. Check that the fire extinguisher in the bus compartment is well secured and charged. Check that the automatic greaser is topped up. Check the transmission oil level. The engine has to be running to perform this check. The beacons are powered by an isolated battery inside this box near the fire extinguisher. Activate the switch to start the beacons. Step away from the machine and verify that both beacons are working. Look at the wheel chock holder and make sure the securing tabs are functional. Check the left rear tire like you did the other 3 tires. Inspect the body and windows on the left-hand side. Inspect the rear panel for damage. Check the condition of all lights. Check the condition of the rear view camera, the rear step, and overall condition of the rear bumper. Finally, check the condition of the rear door components, as was done for the others, and your daily pre-operation check is complete. As you climb inside the cab and sit in the driver's seat, you will find the usual controls such as the steering wheel, the throttle, and the brake pedal. Just to the right of the base of the steering wheel is the retarder control. Next to that is the instrument panel, which contains an interactive screen with push-button controls for the transmission, steering mode, lights, horn, wipers, and washer fluid. Note how the interactive screen has a series of buttons lined up on either side of the display screen. The function of each button corresponds to what is displayed next to it on the screen. The screen is not touch sensitive, therefore functions are activated by pressing the buttons next to the screen and not the screen itself. Here's an overview of the instrument panel. At the top left of the panel is the brake button. Below that is the key switch. At the bottom are 3 indicator lights. The first is the green power indicator light. Next is the amber brake impending light, which also shows up as a warning on the display screen. The red low accumulator warning light, which also shows up as a warning on the interactive screen. Moving on to the top left of the interactive screen, you will find the transmission controls. The top button puts the transmission in forward. The second button is neutral. The third button is reverse. Note that when the reverse is selected, the screen display will change to the reverse camera display. Next are the gear selection buttons, starting with first gear, second gear, third gear. At the bottom is the horn button. At the top right corner is the front lights button. Press the button to choose between high beam and low beam. Press and hold the button to turn the lights off. The rear light button. Note that the rear lights come on automatically when reverse is selected. Next is the button used to switch from two-wheel steering mode to four-wheel steering mode. Note, the vehicle is in four-wheel steering mode by default on startup. Next is the button to activate the heated mirrors. The mirrors are on a timer and will shut off automatically. Next is the wiper button. And below that is the windshield washer button. At the bottom right-hand corner is the torque converter lockup button. The torque converter lockup should only be used when the vehicle is in third gear in long stretches where the engine can be operated at the higher end of its rev range. Do not use the torque converter in the lower rev ranges or the engine could stall. Using the torque converter lockup will help transmission efficiency and will keep it operating at a lower temperature, especially when climbing ramps. Turn off the torque converter lockup if the engine is unable to maintain higher revs when climbing a ramp. At the center of the screen you will find 4 gauges. At the top is the fuel level gauge. Next is the engine oil pressure gauge. To the right is the coolant temperature gauge. Below that is the transmission temperature gauge. At the bottom of the screen is your engine hour meter and engine tachometer. Starting the engine. Before starting the engine, make sure that you sit in the driver's seat, ensure the parking brake is applied, turn the ignition switch to the on position and wait 15 seconds for the dash screen to power up. The horn will sound at the end of the 15-second power-up cycle, and you can stop it by pressing and holding the horn button. Ensure that the transmission is in neutral. Turn the ignition switch to the start position to start the engine. Stopping the engine. To stop the engine, carry out the following procedure. Release the throttle, apply the parking brake, put the transmission into neutral, let engine run at idle for 30 seconds. Turn the key start switch to off. High idle feature. In order to help the engine produce more heat for the heaters on cold days, the CF240 has been equipped with a high idle switch which will increase the engine speed to 1200 RPM. Remember to turn off the high idle feature before driving the machine. Brake test procedure. It is important to perform a brake test at the start of a shift and prior to entering a ramp. To perform this test, the transmission must be in third gear and the forward reverse selector should be preferably in the forward direction. Be sure to disengage the torque converter lockup before beginning the test because the engine will stall. Also make sure the driveline retarder is off. Follow the procedure as outlined on the brake test label. To test the emergency and park brake, do the following. Apply and hold the service brakes. Make sure the brake button is pushed in. Pull out the brake button to the middle position. This engages the transmission, but leaves the parking brakes applied. Remove your foot from the service brakes and apply full throttle. The machine should not move. To test the service brakes, do the following. Press and hold the service brakes with your left foot. Fully pull out the brake button to release the park brakes. Keep holding the service brakes with your left foot and apply full throttle. The machine should not move. Driveline retarder. As mentioned earlier on in the video, this vehicle is equipped with a driveline retarder, a frictionless braking system. Its purpose is to allow the operator to maintain a controlled speed while driving down ramps without the use of the service brakes. The system is controlled by the selector handle next to the steering wheel. It has 4 levels of braking power. When it is activated, the brake lights are also activated. The retarder is deactivated if the operator uses the throttle, even if the selector handle is in the on position. Once the operator releases the throttle, the unit will reactivate at whatever setting that was selected by the control handle. Remember, the driveline retarder is cooled by its own spinning action. As long as it is activated, it generates heat. Therefore, it is a wise idea to keep it deactivated unless it is needed. 4-wheel steering. As you operate the vehicle in both 2-wheel and 4-wheel steering mode, you will notice a very big difference in the vehicle's maneuverability. Make sure you are aware that although the vehicle can make very tight turns in 4-wheel steering mode, the operator must be mindful that the rear end of the machine swings with the machine at every turn and can collide with corners. Generally, if the front end of the machine clears an object in a fully locked turn, then the rear end will clear as well. This only applies if the front and rear axles are in full sync. Never attempt to switch from one steering mode to another on the fly. The vehicle needs to be stopped, and visual verification of wheel alignment needs to be carried out. Four-wheel steering adjustment. Once in a while, the rear axle may come out of phase with the front axle, causing the vehicle to dog track slightly. The operator should be mindful of this and should take the time to adjust this every once in a while. This can be carried out as follows. It is better to have an observer guiding the operator as he is carrying this out. While in four-wheel steering mode and the engine running, turn the steering wheel until the rear wheels are straight. Activate the two-wheel steering mode and then turn the front wheels until they are straight. Activate the four-wheel steering mode and you are done. Intercom system. This vehicle is equipped with a two-way hardwired intercom system so that the rear passengers can communicate with the driver. The rear passenger compartment is also equipped with a warning light tied directly to the parking brake. A red light means the parking brake is released and that the vehicle could move at any time. A green light means the parking brake has been applied, but passengers should remain seated until the driver uses the intercom to notify the passengers it is safe to get up from their seats. Tilting the cab to access the engine compartment. In order to gain access to the engine, filters, cooling system, and batteries, it will be necessary to tilt the cab forward. The CF240 is equipped with a battery-powered hydraulic system to accomplish this. The controls are located on the right-hand side of the vehicle, and a full set of instructions to raise the cab are posted to the left of the controls. A 3/4-inch wrench will be required to open the guard door for access to the control panel. The control panel consists of an on-off selector switch, a power indicator light, a momentary cab up switch, a momentary cab down switch. Never operate the cab up and cab down switches simultaneously. Before attempting to raise the cab, make sure there are no potential obstructions or people standing nearby. Make sure there is no one inside the cab. Secure all loose objects in the cab. Finally, make sure both doors are properly closed. The master switch must be turned on to perform this operation. Turn the selector switch to cab lift. Press and hold the cab up button until the cab is completely raised. Once the cab is fully raised, it needs to be secured before it is safe to enter the engine compartment. The safety prop rod is pinned to the side of the radiator shroud. Set the safety prop rod in place and install the top pin. Gently lower the cab until the bottom holes line up. Install the bottom pin. Turn off the cab control. Turn off the master switch and tag it out as per your mine site requirements. Lowering the cab. Before lowering the cab back into position, make sure there are no objects or people in the way. Turn on the master switch. Turn the selector switch to cab lift. Remove the bottom pin from the safety prop rod. Press the cab up button to take the load off the safety prop rod. Remove the top pin and remove the safety prop rod. Press and hold the cab down button until the cab is completely lowered. Keep holding the button and watch the cab lock indicators to make sure they fully retract. Once fully retracted, the pins indicate that the cab is locked down and the machine is safe to drive. Turn off the cab control. Turn off the master switch if the machine is not being used. Raising the cab manually. If 12-volt power becomes unavailable, then it will be necessary to raise the cab manually in order to access the batteries or other electrical components. This can be done using the hand pump located immediately to the right of the electric cab tilt controls. Locate the black selector knob at the bottom of the pump and pull it out. Pulling out the selector knob makes the cab rise when the handle is pumped. Pushing in the selector knob makes the cab descend when the handle is pumped. Use a pipe to pump the handle to raise the cab or to lower it. Use the same procedure as previously described to secure the cab in place. Using the transfer pump to top up hydraulic fluid. The onboard hydraulic oil transfer pump is to be used to fill or top up the hydraulic tank. This is the safest and cleanest way to fill or top up the hydraulic tank. The transfer pump draws oil from a pail and forces oil through the oil filter. This system allows the person servicing the machine to remain on flat ground and eliminates the need to lift a heavy pail to pour into an open port. Make sure the machine is on level ground before starting this operation. The wand should be wiped clean before use, otherwise filter life could be shortened. The wand is cut at an angle to prevent cavitation of the transfer pump. It is not intended to be used as a spear to pierce the oil bucket. Piercing the bucket with the wand is unsafe and can cause the pump to cavitate. The master switch has to be in the on position to operate the pump. Open the spout of the oil bucket. Remove the wand from the holster and place it in the bucket. The ball valve should remain closed at all times. Only open it when activating the pump and close it again immediately after. Turn the selector switch to the oil fill position. The pump is activated by a momentary switch. The switch must be pressed and held to operate. The hydraulic tank level sight glass can be seen from the pump operating station and should be watched while operating the pump. The hydraulic tank should be filled to the halfway point of the top sight glass. Once you are done topping up or filling the hydraulic tank, The wand should be wiped free of oil and returned to the holster. Operation angle. The CF240 is designed to operate on mining ramps, and various tests have been carried out to verify the machine's ability to brake safely and maintain side hill stability on a 20% grade. Operators should be mindful not to exceed these parameters when driving the machine. This concludes the operation training of the CF240. Remember to review the operator's manual from time to time, as it is important to be familiar with the safety features of this vehicle.